Welcome to Toscafund TV. Greek drama about whether or not it will leave the EU is a contentious issue. It is, however, currently performing a great service to the Eurozone by making its currency ever more competitive to the dollar. To give us Toscafund's insight into the economy and the upcoming elections is Savvas Savouri. Savvas, what is Toscafund's take on the upcoming Greek elections?
The take is that this is a replay of 2012. Back then, the euro came under downward pressure against the dollar. It's doing so again. There's every indication that, as in 2012, the first vote is inconclusive and a second vote will be needed. So what you have is a protracted, drawn-out, political uncertain event. I think ultimately what will happen is the same again, that the Greeks will elect to stay in the eurozone with its potential pains and leave with all the uncertainty and pitfalls of being a country without a currency.
How could it affect the eurozone?
I've seen commentary suggesting that Greece leaving the eurozone would have relatively modest consequences. That is utterly absurd. Greece leaving the eurozone would have catastrophic consequences. First, regionally, and let's bear in mind where it sits geographically. Its neighbours to the north are relatively unstable Balkan states. You've got Macedonia, Albania, Croatia and Serbia. You've got European Union members in the form of Bulgaria and Romania not far away, and Turkey. The consequence really is that if and this is an extremely unlikely event, if a Greek parliament was formed with violently anti-EU and Eurozone constituents to the point where they did leave the Eurozone, Greece would be left without a currency. It would effectively become a black market Eurozone economy. Greeks who could leave would abandon the country. Farmers would prefer to sell their wares for hard currency overseas. So what you'd have effectively is Europe's deflation problems would become materially worse, and they're already bad as it is. You'd have demographic shocks. You'd have economic shocks. You'd have financial shocks that would sweep northward from Greece. They would sweep eastward into Cyprus again. They would sweep westward into Italy. Do not underestimate the consequences. The good news is that it's highly unlikely, so unlikely that I wouldn't even give it a contingent thought. Finally,
what are your predictions for Greece's future?
Well, it will effectively have to find a new size. It will contract. The good news is that finally the Germans and Draghi are realising that they simply can't avoid quantitative easing and they can't avoid being more lenient. So over coming months, almost certainly during the period that the Greeks have their first and second parliamentary votes, you start to hear and read about concessions being made out of Frankfurt and Strasbourg and Brussels concerning the terms of bailouts, the ability to effectively pump capital into the Eurozone. So what the Greeks should do is wait patiently for a more lenient approach to austerity. Because one thing that's very clear is that the deflation which was being feared might happen has become embedded. It's arrived, and the ECB will have to do what other central banks have done in North America and the UK and Japan, and engage in very aggressive and unconditional quantitative easing. And that effectively basically means, to put it simply, they open up the spigots and pump money into the economy of the Eurozone. And one thing that's been lacking since 2009 or 2008 is money. Banks have been deleveraging, taking money out of the economies. So this is quite a marked reversal. So quite different from 2012 when the Greeks last voted. The prospect here is that this is the beginning of a far more lenient approach to embattled economies like Greece and arguably Spain and Portugal, Italy and even France.
Thank you for your time today. Keep watching Toscafund TV for more news on the economy. Until then, goodbye.